So, Jonathan Lemire, to quote Lyndon Johnson on another matter, these are the stakes. And I'm going to play for you what Senator Murkowski, Republican of Alaska, said to her fellow Republican senators, in effect, about the need for this commission. We'll discuss on the other side.
This was an attack on our Capitol designed to stop a process that has been in play for a century plus. So we just can't pretend that nothing bad happened or that people just got too excitable. Something bad happened, and it's important to lay that out.
So on social media tonight, Jonathan, a good many Democrats were saying to the senator, so switch parties. Come on over and join the home team, join the team of reason. Jonathan, the question for you is, how do Republicans listen to that and justify their no vote?
They haven't justified it very effectively, Brian. That much is clear. They have, to this day, and wedded themselves to former President Trump and the big lie that he was, of course, he claims, elected in last November and that the election was stolen from him. None of that is true. And, of course, it was that former president and his words that incited the violence on Capitol Hill on January 6th. And there are a few Republicans who have voted to say, or have indicated they will vote to get to the bottom of this. Collins, Murkowski, Romney have said they do want to have this January 6th commission. But when Republican leader McConnell is actively trying to quash it, telling members, reportedly, that it would be a personal favor to him for them to do so, it doesn't stand much of a chance. And right now, Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, Brian, you'll remember Ron Johnson as the senator who said that he'd been far more afraid on January 6th that they had been Black Lives Matter protesters rather than the Trump fans who stormed the Capitol, killed multiple people, and tried to hang the vice president. He is engaging in stall tactics in the Senate right now, approaching midnight, delaying votes on a number of matters, China, a China bill, Endless Frontiers bill, and indeed even getting to the January 6th commission vote because he wants there to be discussion about President Trump's former border wall, which he was a prize campaign promise, and not much came of it. So that's where they are. The Republican Party right now is still, for the vast majority of them, doing former President Trump's bidding. They want to put January 6th behind them as quickly as possible. Their focus is simply on the 2022 midterms and not getting to the bottom of one of the darkest days in American history.
Carol Leonnig, let's talk about someone you have covered for years, and that's federal judge Amy Berman Jackson. She wrote an opinion this week on why she was going to keep in detention one of the 1-6 defendants, the accused insurrectionists, and she threw this in. The steady drumbeat that inspired the defendant to take up arms has not faded away. 6 months later, the canard that the election was stolen is being repeated daily on major news outlets and from the corridors of power in state and federal government, not to mention in the near daily fulminations of the former president. Carol, how big is it to read a section that speaks English, written by not just a member of the federal bench, a supremely formidable member of the federal bench?
I'm always impressed by Judge Jackson's use of the dictionary, and it comes out of her mouth very easily compared to mine. But to get fulminations and canard into one pleading is pretty, forgive me, opinion is pretty good. You know, she is dead right, Brian. The continuation of the big lie, you know, it's so demonstrably false. This is not the only defendant who has been held because of the potential risk of them doing harm to people in the future, because they still believe these claims are still being stoked. And they're being stoked by, as she said, the former president. They're a really powerful person with a very large megaphone, even though he no longer has Twitter, a lot of power. And sadly, a large number of Americans still believe this to be the case. I think that right now, there are some polls that suggest that 1 in 5 Americans believe that the election was stolen, and they may have to resort to taking matters into their own hands to solve this problem, the theft of our democracy. It's quite the opposite. But unfortunately, there's a large group of lawmakers who are, again, continuing to repeat this. And it reminds me, I'm sorry to go back to an old saw, but it really reminds me of when the Bush administration was pushing the claim, it seems antique now, that Saddam Hussein was guilty of fomenting terrorism, and 2 out of 3 Americans believed Saddam Hussein had something to do with the towers coming down, which was just not true, but it had been repeated to them so often that they believed it. You almost have to feel sorry for voters that they've been sold this snake oil.